Hi, this is going to be a channel update, and I'm also going to talk about yesterday's Ravenhawk session. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. The link is going to be in the description of this video, the entire playlist. When it comes to the update, in case you missed the community post, I am going to continue with the interviews. This interviews idea was somewhat of a vague notion several months back, but now I am really getting into it. I will try to ideally have at least one interview per month, hopefully, perhaps more. Who knows, we'll see. And of course, I am going to be interviewing people that design tabletop RPGs, that play tabletop RPGs. It doesn't have to be someone really famous. I could interview pretty much anyone that catches my attention. And perhaps people related to other fields, like music, literature, anything that could serve as inspiration. Video games, perhaps, because there is some overlapping. The semiotic domain of tabletop RPGs is so rich, so vast, that it takes inspiration from many things. Now, when it comes to yesterday's session, as always, it was amazing. There were some really cool moments. I really like how, in the case of RPG Grandma, because she is the most experienced one from the group, that is among all of us, when it comes to engaging with the dangerous encounters in Dungeons and Dragons, the adventure sites, etc. When it comes to tackling those dangers, she is the most experienced one. So, as she is playing Mu, the Minotaur from the Barrier Peaks, knowledgeable and familiar with all sorts of strange alien technology and philosophies and who knows what, it is quite logical to see perhaps Jace referring to Mu as the strategist of the group. When it comes to the combat actions, it was also pretty amazing, and that's what I am going to talk about today. Roleplay eliminates the sluggishness, the slug of how would you say, apparently inevitable boredom that comes with crunchier systems. Some people actually dislike crunchy systems because they don't roleplay through those systems. They are constantly out of character, asking questions. It is possible to take on any system, roleplaying through that system and still applying the rules. You need to get the ball rolling. How amazing when Jace managed to... These are going to be a few spoilers, of course. Please check out the recent part of this is part 11, if I'm correct, because this is going to contain spoilers. That attack of opportunity that Jace decided to carry out allowed Marcus to avoid those attacks easily. Those Eldritch Blasts, I think they were Eldritch Blasts because the player characters were going full throttle in that dangerous encounter near the end of the session, when Marcus used his, I think, Eldritch Blast against the head of the enemy and distracted the enemy just enough so they could make their escape across the bridge. And in the case of, as always, Mu, wrestling and goring and savagely attacking the opponents, even though the horns are not exactly the most ideal when confronting werewolves because of her strange technology, her gauntlets, her weapons, the modifications. It was still such a glorious, savage sight to see her tear the werewolf to pieces. When it comes to navigating those spaces, as always, when it comes to me engaging with role players, I am always surprised, no matter how many times it happens. I am describing the structures, the rooms, the corridors, and they already know the dimensions. They are so into the game and paying attention to the structure of the adventure site that almost by intuition, they already know more or less the size of the rooms. They are already interacting with the environment. And suddenly I realized I haven't even described the size of the room and they already have the perfect idea on the size and how they can interact with the objects, with the elements, with the non-player characters. It almost looks like telepathy. It is incredible. You create these imaginary spaces. It is amazing. I think it also has to do with how the players immediately catch on to concepts. If you describe something as the kitchen, the bedroom, they already have the notions of what is contained in those places. But it is truly magical when you have all of these complicated maps and they just breeze through them because they are into it. They are role-playing. They never go out. The combats against the werewolves, against that horrible giant raven at the end. Before the session, we were actually discussing that, how in many D20 systems, sometimes things go sluggish as you grow in power. But I can assure you that because we are role-playing, even at the highest levels, combats will still flow quite well, quite exciting. For those participating in the experience, it never feels like a slog. It is so exciting. You don't know what is going to happen because you're not constantly asking questions about what your character is going to be doing, thinking out loud of the different rules. In fact, Dungeons and Dragons and any other crunchier system, because Dungeons and Dragons 5e is not the most complicated RPG. In fact, many things were made to be a bit more streamlined. But any RPG a bit more on the crunchier side, because it is not exactly rules light, of course, but all of those details concerning damage, range, duration of spells, effects of feats, etc. As long as you are role-playing and keeping the ball rolling, even the more complicated parts, they still take very little when it comes to logistics. So, if anyone has felt that any D20 system is such a slug or sluggish and at the higher levels because of all of those attacks, spells, effects, then there is something wrong with the roleplay. Just keep on roleplaying. That solves everything. Roleplay solves everything, as I always say. Truly, those RPGs are good for the mind. You are exercising your creative side, but you are also exercising the number crunching. So you have fun, and at the same time you are exercising your brain. The key to not being like the typical case of when you are very old is because you are constantly exercising your mind. Perfect example, RPG Grandma. Look at her. Sharp as ever, because all of her hobby life in tabletop RPGs, she has been engaging with these systems. Perfect example. And so, for those of you that perhaps are just getting into tabletop RPGs, please check out my Essential RPG Concepts playlist in the description. It will tell you all about roleplay. What is a role-playing game? What is a role? How do you roleplay? Etc, etc, etc. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.